infamous past is coming back. Somali pirates are returning to the sea armed and determined. This is their latest attack from northeastern Somalia. Somali pirates became a threat to global trade and a money-making machine from the millions asked in ransoms to release ships and their crew, and an international task force, including NATO, a group of 20 armed men in a small fishing boat, chased a large cargo ship. The group swiftly board the vessel and take control of the Bangladeshi-owned MV Abdullah.
Scarborough Shoal is not simply a cluster of rocks. It is a test of whether raw power or international law decides who controls the world's oceans. The clash showed that dominance at sea is not always measured by weapon ranges or ship tonnage.
We continue to detail the latest on another kinetic strike of a potential suspected narco-terrorist there in the Caribbean and narco-terrorists in the Southcom area of responsibility. I want to play some of this video out as I read the remainder of the statement here on Live Now from Fox from the President of the United States talking about this, saying this morning, on my orders, the U.S. military forces conducted a second kinetic strike against positively identified, extraordinarily violent drug trafficking cartels.
The USS Ralph Johnson, never firing a missile, demonstrated how presence alone can anchor deterrence and reassurance for allies watching closely. Visibility became its strongest shield, stronger even than missiles held in reserve. But the larger question remains hanging. If the next confrontation turns violent, will international law still define the line, or will force redraw the map? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video.
The strike resulted in 3 male terrorists killed in action. No U.S. forces were harmed in the strike. Be warned, if you are transporting drugs that can kill Americans, we are hunting you. These extremely violent drug trafficking cartels pose a threat to U.S. national security, foreign policy, and the vital U.S. interest. Illicit activities by these cartels have wrought devastating consequences on American communities for decades, killing millions of American citizens. No longer. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, of course, these are some images coming in from Rapid Response.
Why would pirates in flimsy wooden skiffs, barely seaworthy and worth less than the gas in a fighter jet, believe they could bring down a U.S. Navy warship whose price tag exceeded the entire yearly income of dozens of villages along the Somali coastline? To them, the answer seemed clear. They had struck fear into merchant fleets before. Tankers and container ships had folded under their intimidation, and millions in ransom had poured into their enclaves. If it worked on ships that crossed the Gulf of Aden every week, why would this night be any different? That confidence mixed with desperation and greed pushed them forward against an opponent they could neither understand nor measure. Under the cover of night, 5 boats roared from a coastal inlet, each packed with between 6 and 8 gunmen, their decks crowded by bags of ammunition, rocket-propelled grenade launchers, and belt-fed machine guns. They moved fast, nearly planing across the dark water, engines ripping through the silence. Small handheld radios crackled as they kept contact with men sitting in the dunes with binoculars, guiding them on where the lights of the target had last been spotted. The plan was to use speed to close the distance before any crew could mount an organized defense. Shock and violence, they believed, would overwhelm even the mightiest ship at sea. As the boats closed in, their first tactic was noise and chaos. Bursts of tracer fire skipped across the waves, streaking orange in the black night, as machine gunners unleashed bursts toward the looming silhouette ahead. RPGs arced clumsily, detonating against the surface of the water or sparking against the ship's steel skin. They circled, weaving in coordinated patterns like predators around a giant they could not topple, trying to find a weak flank. To the pirates, these displays had broken the morale of wary merchant mariners before, forcing them to surrender or huddle inside locked safe rooms while ransoms were negotiated. They thought the same strategy might send American sailors scattering beneath the deck. Only it wasn't a merchant vessel at all. Unbeknownst to them, every radio transmission they whispered was being tracked. Every heat signature was already logged. Long before their skiffs hit full throttle, surveillance systems had spotted them darting from their hideout. High-resolution radar tracked their course. Acoustic systems in the water triangulated engine noises, matching them to known pirate operating models. By the time their first bullets smacked harmlessly against armor plating, the ship's crew was at full readiness. General quarters had been called less than a minute after detection. The alarms had echoed throughout the corridors. Sailors sprinting to weapon stations and sealing compartments, just as they had drilled countless times. The difference between the two sides was brutally clear. The pirates had bravado, but the Navy had layers of defense already primed. Onboard gunners aligned cannons designed not to scare, but to obliterate. Countermeasure launchers, night vision optics, and automated sensors framed the battlefield with cold machine precision. And still, beyond the horizon, surveillance drones locked in from miles above, while helicopters carved toward the scene. The skiffs weren't engaging a single vessel. They were stepping into a web designed to eliminate threats before they even touched hull plating. The clash lasted minutes that felt like hours. Gunfire rattled, RPG rounds splashed into nothing, the pirates shouting instructions over static-filled radios. Inside the ship, sailors braced. Monitors flashed with every movement outside. Deck-mounted guns barked back, precision bursts lighting up the dark. Each ripple of defensive fire sent shockwaves across the water, lifting skiffs off balance, making gunners topple. The reality became undeniable. The vessel was not another payday. It was a fortress engineered for war, and every layer of that fortress was awake and responding. Within 5 minutes, the mood shifted. Pirates who expected frightened crews spiraling into panic found themselves choking on cordite and seawater, blinded by searchlights that cut through the night. They swung their boats wide, still firing, but the coordination crumbled. Radios went silent. The circle became disorganized. What began as an attack turned into a scramble for survival. In that chaotic moment, as their weapons clattered out of sync and their maneuvers unraveled, the truth hit them. This was not a cargo ship. This was the frontline projection of the most advanced naval force in existence, and they had steered straight into it. From here, what mattered was not just the engagement itself, but how the sheer scale of America's naval reach in one night forced pirates to rethink everything about their strategy and their future on the water. The skirmish didn't just scatter a few boats. It demonstrated how fragile piracy becomes against a system built for rapid escalation. Each layer of defense collaborated in real time, from radar identifying targets miles away to helicopters circling before the pirates even knew they were tracked. What began as 5 skiffs racing for ransom ended as proof that outdated tactics collapse against advanced coordination. The lesson spread far beyond that night. A handful of desperate gunmen tested American steel with wooden hulls and gasoline engines, and the answer came fast. The message was clear: point rifles at American ships, and the sea itself will turn against you.